Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan has a 74% approval rating, but will it last? General Assembly preview. What are the top legislative priorities that the General Assembly prepares to meet next week? And has hell frozen over? The Baltimore Sun endorses Hogan proposal for redistricting reform. And finally, will the Democrats ever accept Trump as president? Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by the Dean of Democratic Punditry, Sam Statland, Secretary of the Maryland Republican Central Committee, Mark Uncapher, media consultant, Jerry Cave, and political strategist, Susan Heltemes. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. Welcome to the first show of 2017. What impact will the seismic political changes that occurred in the last year have on Maryland as the General Assembly prepares to meet in Annapolis? And will the election of Donald Trump as president have an impact on Maryland issues like Sanctuary City, funding for legal services, and the Justice Department investigation of the Baltimore police force? And finally, how do Marylanders feel about the president-elect and its Republican governor? Mark. Governor Larry Hogan is still riding high among Maryland voters, with the latest poll showing his approval rating at 74%. And even 2/3 of Democrats say the Republican governor is doing a good job. Why is he getting such good marks, and does it really mean anything?
Well, it means a great deal, but I think the reason he's doing well is because he's focusing very specifically on the issues that he ran on: limiting the government, not increasing taxes, holding the line on spending, and is avoiding getting into a whole lot of other issues, and that focus is paying off.
Sam, as the governor enters his third year in office, Hogan continues to be one of the most popular governors in the nation. But the president-elect, Donald Trump, isn't so popular in the state of Maryland. 56% of state viewers and voters see him as unfavorably, and 2/3 of Democrats think he's totally unqualified.
Well, in a blue state like Maryland, that doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, I would think that his ratings would even be lower. But in all fairness, I do think that we have to give the man a chance, because I think that in ways he models Governor Hogan, in that he's trying to be as nonpartisan as possible in trying to run the government, which was one of his promises. And I think he might just keep that promise.
Is that a trick answer? I want to know. Is that a trick answer?
Why? Was it a trick question?
Yes, sure it was. Susan, turning our attention to the General Assembly, bail reform, paid sick leave, and removing caps on punitive damages for personal injury seem to be among the top priorities. What are the others?
I think general criminal justice reform, not just bail reform, are going to play is going to have a lot of attention. Plus, I think there'll be probably some more drunk driving laws, animal rights laws, nothing else much beyond those that you listed. But criminal justice reform across the board needs to be done.
And what I'd like to see is more reform on health care. I'd like to see a guaranteed issue on medical supplement policies for those that have Medicare. I would like to see the prescription drug companies being prevented from changing their formulary after people have very carefully chosen their new drug plan just to have it changed, costing more money. I think that's grossly unfair.
Sam, all that sounds great, but as soon as the Republicans have announced that they're going to reform the ACA, all state actions on any of these reforms are stillborn, aren't they?
No, Maryland has its own plan. We are not affiliated with the American plan, so we have our own thing right here in Maryland. It existed before that.
But isn't this the whole contentious point about Obamacare? That every state, all 50 states, have their own plans, and they want to get universality.
No, actually, just the opposite. When one of the plans that the new HHS secretary has been promoting has been to convert the Medicare Medicaid dollars into block grants to give states more flexibility. So exactly what Maryland could do is come up with its own plan, and it could be very different
Well,
from
Maryland
Virginia.
does have its own
We have a
plan.
tremendous
Give more
amount of
flexibility.
flexibility to make all of the health care, even the Affordable Care Act as it impacts on Maryland, fairer to consumers. And we need people who will reach out and speak on that in
Insurance
the assembly.
reform in general would be helpful
Wait,
in
wait,
the
would be.
state.
Does
I mean,
any of this
even-
include
even-
lowering the rates we're all
Yeah,
paying? 'Cause
okay.
we're
It
will
getting
lower the
crushed,
rate.
crushed by this.
But the insurance commissioner is the one who gives the rate increases each year. And I think that the insurance commissioner was a little out of control this year and gave way
This
to
year, what about years past?
I think
mean,
that this
I mean,
particular insurance
just
commissioner
throw all this-
has not been consumer friendly at all. And where he did have the power to hold rates,
But one of the reasons for Maryland's rates has been the number of mandates that Maryland imposes as a state. The list is considerably longer than other states. Now,
we've
you
had
can
those-
argue the merits, but that ends up having a cost.
we have had those mandates since 1989 healthcare reform. And our rates up until the recent changes were very, very competitive, and we had more carriers.
Sounds to me like Sam is against Obamacare since we had Obamacare.
No, that
No,
isn't
I'm
what
not.
he's
Wait a
saying.
minute.
Oh, Jerry, you're out
We're
of
not
line.
gonna-
Jerry?
We're going to continue to focus on state issues,
And
Jerry.
Obamacare is the wrong nomenclature. It's the Affordable Care Act.
The Unaffordable Care Act. So, Jerry, Howard
Spoken like
County
a
is
true
debating a
Republican.
proposal to make it a sanctuary county. Is this in response to the Trump election? And what do you make of this proposal?
First off, it's in response to stop being stupid. It's illegal to do this. They shouldn't do this, and they're going to have much bigger fish to fry. Donald Trump is going to come into this city and make serious changes to government, and that's going to affect the Washington metro area, and that's going to affect Howard. And they have to stop focusing on things that are none of their business, stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and focus on their knitting.
Jerry,
and it's
I'm glad
disgraceful to do this, and it doesn't make any difference because it's the federal government's responsibility to
Sam,
throw these
I'm
people
glad
out.
you hung this on Trump, as you always do, being such a supporter of his. However, let's face it,
Listen, what's good for America
Montgomery
is not
County-
necessarily what's good for Washington
turn.
metro area.
Montgomery County, you could say, is already a sanctuary
No,
county.
it's not a sanctuary county. There is a difference. We are not. The law enforcement officials do cooperate. If there is someone on the ICE list, they let them know.
The proposal in Howard County is the same. It's the same proposal. So whether we're a sanctuary county, by
I don't think
Well,
we're not
law
like
enforcement,
San Francisco.
we
We're not
enforce
that way.
that's how we enforce the law, and nobody seems to be that unhappy with it, Susan. And I think
No,
it's a good
Montgomery
thing.
County people are very happy with
That's
it.
because
Wait
we're
a
all
minute, wait a
washing
minute.
money from the federal
How do
government.
you know
when
Montgomery
we start
County
to
people
suffer.
are very happy with it?
Have you moved
Yeah,
to-
good
you
point.
polled everybody?
No,
What?
you talk to people. There aren't
No,
people
the
complaining
Democrats
in the
are happy
streets.
with it.
No, people are not complaining in Montgomery County. I haven't heard. I haven't read
complains.
anywhere.
All right. Well, Sam, I want to finish up on this one proposal. The Maryland Attorney General and several legislatures have all advocated reforming the money bail system in criminal cases so that to an amount that the defendant can afford. Why this issue and why now? And on a parallel track, the Court of Appeals, the state's highest court, is holding a hearing last week on this very issue. So they will probably wait until the legislature either acts or fails to act.
Here and now is a result of the courts first failing to make a ruling and now delaying it to do more studying, whatever that means, because this has been brought up in the past. The basis of the argument is whether the judiciary should step in by rule and make it happen, or the legislature should step up to the plate and do what's right, which they've been reluctant to do.
Mark.
So now we're going to battle it out again in the legislature
Let's
as well
put
as the
this in
courts.
perspective. I understand the court case, but in one recent year, looking at numbers, 2013, 40,000 Maryland defendants failed to show up for their criminal case. The number of outstanding warrants is in the tens of thousands as well. So there is a real problem of under the current system of people who are arrested, who should be tried, not showing up for their cases.
I just want to throw in something that we were going to talk about, and I bet we're not going to have time, and that is that the legislature is going to override the governor's veto of the energy stuff, and there is going to be a total ban on fracking that is going to be introduced by Senator Bobby Zirkut of Baltimore, and it's most likely
Well,
going to
there
pass.
are a lot of bills that are going to percolate through the system, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about them in the weeks ahead. Going on to our next topic. Last year, Governor Hogan made a strong push for redistricting reform, and now the governor has received additional support from an unlikely ally. Jerry, the Baltimore Sun editorialized this week that in addition to being the right thing to do, they are urging the legislature to reject partisan gerrymandering in favor of an independent redistricting commission. Will it happen?
No. 70% of the people in Maryland would like to see this gerrymandering put aside, just like 70% of people in Montgomery County wanted to have term limits. But it won't happen because the legislature has one constituency, and that is the legislature. And they want to maintain supermajority in the delegates and senators so they can override Hogan. It's not going to happen. It'll only happen if he wins re-election in 2020. There's a law case that may break it, but no, they don't want to do this. The Democrats are opposed to having your vote count.
Well, Susan, do you agree with Jerry on this, that it will never happen, that saner forces won't prevail here?
Well, I find it ironic that Jerry is so hell-bent on this, because across the nation, Jerry probably is aware that Republicans in Congress got less than 50% across the nation, but they hold 55%. Yes, Maryland is
I
not
am
perfect,
so
but there are
grateful that
far more
Republicans finally-
egregious
finally
places.
got into the game
There
and
are
played it
far
like you
more
do.
egregious places
No,
than
there
here
is
in
no
Mar-
more egregious place than the state of Maryland by your Democratic Party.
Oh, I would disagree on that.
Well,
and what
go
is
ahead, but
going
the
to
facts
happen
bear it out.
is that I think it should be a national trend. And this law case in Wisconsin may make a difference. But if Maryland is doing it, I would love to see Pennsylvania, Ohio, Texas, Florida, Mississippi,
They
Georgia.
pale by comparison.
No,
look
they-
at the districts, look at the shapes, and it is abundantly obvious, even if you can't read, that Maryland has the worst gerrymandered districts
Likely-
in the country.
Well, when you talk about this, it's interesting. Casey loves to get on this issue, but when he
Yeah, because we're
interviewed-
in Maryland. We're
I
talking
know.
about this state.
Casey, but
We're talking
you-
about the fact that our
Case-
votes don't
My name's
count.
Casey.
Yeah, I know.
This is Jerry.
I'm trying to get your attention. What I'm saying is that when we interviewed Ami Hober, Ami said it wasn't really an issue. She said,
What does that have to do with it?
Well, no, but
I love Ami, but her
You know what?
opinion's not prevailing.
This is
It is not-
wonderful because we're going to be able to continue this
All
we
year.
have to.
all year.
Do we have to?
When we come back from this short break, will the media and the Democrats ever accept Donald Trump as president? And stay tuned for our panel's New Year's resolutions and predictions for the year ahead.
We've got predictions? I didn't know about predictions.
And welcome back. Just as the election of Donald Trump as president confounded and surprised many in the nation, the Trump transition continues to have the same effect, even though only a few days remain before the inauguration on January 20th. Jerry, Democrats have announced the creation of a war room to defeat Donald Trump. The state of California has hired former Attorney General Eric Holder to assist in the fight against the president's legislative priorities. And there's a far left group advocating a citizens impeachment inquiry. And all this is occurring before Trump has been sworn in. What's going to happen after he's sworn in?
This is like a business that put into a plan that was driving them out of business, so they hired an ad agency to make sure nobody misses it. They are so stupid. Their policies have hurt the country. They've turned the Middle East on fire, but nobody has been hurt more by Obama, the Democratic Party's policies, than the Democrats. And what are they going to do? Make sure nobody misses that fact. Wait a minute. And Donald Trump is going to be incredibly successful, and Americans are going to see the contrast between the Democratic policies that don't work, and they remind them with this, and Donald Trump just making it work, making America great again.
Jerry, I'm really confused because in 2017, you sound almost happy. And that's not normal for you.
It's not only not happy, I'm having an existential crisis because I am not worried about the country anymore. I got Donald Trump in charge. I'm not worried. It's almost like I'm having trouble working up energy beyond the show.
What I think,
Susan, who's fanning the Trump derangement syndrome that everything is anti-Trump?
I don't think it's first of all, deranged. I think that's a little strong. You know, Jerry goes on, and the economy's doing pretty damn well. Things are going pretty good.
Record number of Americans out of the workforce.
No, that's not true.
It
and
is
you
true.
know it isn't.
There's 94 million
Democrats
Americans.
are going to be keeping an eye on what Trump
don't
is
care what
doing.
they keep an eye on,
And
just
Jerry,
speculation.
on the night that Barack Obama was sworn in, the Republicans got together and they said, we're going to keep him to one term and we're going to halt him every step of the way. And they
I
did.
don't
So
know.
what-
I don't know about
I wanted somebody.
I don't know about derangement syndrome, but I got to notice that both Susan and Sam are dressed in black. So I'm assuming that they're in mourning for the month of
The
January.
man in black says,
Well-
that setting aside the
I think your suit says it all.
stupid partisan arguments that you guys get into, is we're going to have a president that's going to make less partisan decisions. And I think
I
he's
wouldn't
already,
say
wait
that.
a second, and I think he has already shown evidence of that. He's not afraid to use his bully pulpit to attack both R's and D's. I want to see what the way this man goes and see what happens.
But is
We
the
may
Congress-
all
is the
well
Congress-
be surprised.
Is the Congress going to go along with what you're considering? Already the Senate has come out and said that they are going to oppose him every step of the way.
You mean the Democrats said that?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to tell you something. It don't make any
So
difference.
what?
Donald Trump is going to get done what he needs to get done here.
If I could, I think there's much to be more optimistic. There are 10 Democrats who are up for re-election in next year that are in states that Donald Trump won. So I think that there's really going to be an part of. I understand some Democrats are kind of more extreme position, but on those people in the middle, there's going to be more flexibility.
And,
Guys,
and you know,
enough-
2
He
years
wasn't
is a
successful
long ways
taking no
away.
for an answer.
Guys, enough people voted for this man
He got less
to
votes
elect him.
than her by almost 3 million
to elect
votes.
him president of the United States, which, barring no
But he
evil,
does
will
not
become.
have a mandate.
Whether or not
And the
he got
reason
the
for that
popular
is
vote,
is
he
because
not gonna
his
be
mantra
president of the United
was,
States?
He is until he gets impeached.
And until
you
he gets
guys-
impeached, as you like to put it,
Yeah.
doesn't he have the right to put in place his cabinet?
Yes, he is, but I think there
And
are.
on the day that Barack Obama was sworn in, weren't 8 secretaries of different department heads already confirmed by the Senate? So why is the Democratic
Because
Party
they haven't
going to-
put
going to
any.
oppose
Wait a minute.
everything that Donald Trump does?
They're not going to oppose everybody. What I'm saying, though, is they have put the most contentious.
In your opinion?
No.
In your opinion. The fact is, these are all highly respected business people
Successful.
who've accomplished things in their life.
I think
they're not
all that's-
they're not political hacks and retreads.
I think that there are some real problems with some of these oligarchs who have
Oligarchs. What's an oligarch?
They make more money than you and me.
Somebody who's made money and someone who's been successful.
Can I
Exactly.
suggest we listen to,
Oligarch?
can I
Sam,
suggest we listen to Sam?
Is your party going to oppose all of the Trump nominees?
No.
damned if I know.
No,
But
they're
what
not.
I do know is that he already has used his bully pulpit
It's the
to
tweeting
attack
pulpit.
those people who have been against him, whether D or R. And I believe that's his intent on how the government should be run. And I would like to
You
see
mean
what
being
plays out.
vindictive?
I want to see what happens with tax reform. Number 1 on the list, which is what concerns a lot of people. The economy, which concerns people.
How about the environment?
The environment. These are all important issues that helped him get elected because of what he said in a nonpartisan way.
You guys are
I'm
really
going to
scared
kick
about
him
that.
out
I
of the
say-
Democratic Party for
Give the
having
guy
an
And you
open
know
mind.
what? And one of the things he
There's
wants to
Democrats
do
that feel
in
the same
terms
way.
of women's rights, and
You don't have to be a
69% of Americans
Women's
is
rights.
America.
What
No,
women's right
when he
issues
is talking,
are
when,
being
no.
challenged?
When he's talking about he wants to challenge Planned Parenthood and he's pro-life
good
and he
idea.
wants judges there.
Do you think it's
69%
fair?
of, let me
Do you
finish.
think it's fair for someone who morally opposes abortion to have their tax dollars used to support Planned
Wait a minute.
Parenthood?
Planned
me.
Parenthood does not use any federal funds for
It's
abortion.
You
fungible.
support the
It's fungible.
overhead. at the
No,
same
and
time.
you know
Guys.
what? 69% of Americans this last week in a Pew Research poll said they do not want Roe versus Wade overturned.
That is not a.
And this
Who-
But Trump
who's
wants
who's
that.
advocating
Trump would like
Excuse
that
me.
to happen.
Can you cut
Oh,
the partisan
where-
stuff out
Susan.
for a second?
He wants
In
abortion-
this gerrymandered country,
Yes.
The man was elected.
He was, wasn't
And there are people who are going to have to run for office in 2 years.
he? That's correct.
And 4 years and 6 years. And how they vote and how they view issues based on their gerrymandered constituency is going to make a difference as to as to whether they get elected or not.
Sam, this is why you are the dean of Democratic punditry.
And the reason I'm the predictor is that this is going to be a whole new ballgame.
Stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from this short break. With predictions or resolutions or just an old parting shot. Susan Heltemes.
Okay, as we go into the era of the twit in charge of tweeting, I think it's ironic this year that the words of the year in the Oxford English Dictionary was post-truth, and in the Merriam-Webster Dictionary it was surreal. That's the way I look at it. When we look at a president who has done so many things that some of us are concerned about, and it is going to be great fodder as we go into the new administration. It's going to be great humor, and it's going to be very distressful for some of us, but we'll see how long he lasts.
Thank you, Susan. Sam.
As a new great-grandfather as of 4:30 this morning, I want to give a shout out to my great-grandson Bradley and his mom Emily and father Mike. Congratulations, guys, and I see a great future for this grandson in this country.
Thank you, Sam. Mark Uncapher, your parting shot.
I got to turn this into a prediction, but I'm going home tonight. My wife has the flu because she forgot to take her flu shot. So my prediction to you is that if you forget to take your flu shot, you increase your chances of having the flu. Go out and get a flu shot if you haven't already gotten it.
Thank you, Mark. Jerry Cave, your parting shot.
As the most prescient pundit on this program, I will predict what is going to happen and why. Donald Trump has been talking about running for president for 35 years, and he chose to do it now because things are in such bad shape that he can take in, if he only does 20% of his program, he will be a great president. 50% and he will be one of the greatest. And any more than that, he will be one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. But in other words, things are so bad, he can't help but come out a winner on this. And my resolution for the year is I'm going to lose 10 pounds. I only got 15 more to go.
Well, that's wonderful, Jerry. I'm glad. Well, I actually am going to follow along with your lead here, Jerry, and give a resolution. My resolution was to get healthy. At the end of the year, I had a severe case of bronchitis, and my resolution is to get healthy in 2017 and to stay healthy. It was no fun. I had to cancel lunch with Susan because I couldn't breathe. It was terrible. So that's number one. Number two, my prediction. My prediction is we're going to have an incredible economic rebirth this year in 2017. It's not going to be a smooth ride. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but you're going to see the enthusiasm of the American people come to fore, and they are going to bring their energies, those wild passions, rising to the occasion. And finally, my parting shot. My parting shot is for Mark Uncapher, who, unbeknownst to all of us, one day decided, I want to look young again. And so he shaved his mustache. Why did he do that? I can't tell you. All I can tell you is that he looks marvelous. He looked marvelous. And finally, the last thing is my poor Redskins. And you know I love the Redskins. My daughter this year, she went out and she bought me maroon and gold Argyle pants because that's how much I love the Redskins. My poor Redskins are going to suck again next year because they have a terrible coach who can't inspire them. They've got a general manager who thinks he's too good for the team and won't draft the right people. And lo and behold, we're going to end up 8-8 next year, just like we did. 8-7-1, like we did this year.
There go your season tickets.
Yeah, they're good. Well, in the 400 section, there are plenty of seats in the 400 section. So I want to thank everybody for being here. We got a special edition of 21 this week that we're going to tape the night before the inauguration on the 19th. It's going to be a lot of fun. There'll be a lot of mud
Slinging.
Slinging, thank you.
And mud baths would
And
help.
mud baths. So for 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken. Stay tuned for Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show.